Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video with myself and Mike today. Another transfer rumour. This one's been going on a while throughout January. Jota of Al-Ittihad obviously went to Saudi from Celtic. Big money move. Hasn't really worked out. Hasn't played much. And now it's being rumoured that we could potentially be in with a deal on loan this season. But there are quite a few obstacles which we're going to break down very shortly. But just to get, just so you're aware of where it's coming from, X was reporting it. Jacob Steinberg's been reporting it. After obviously the Osman deal looks like it's in quite a difficult spot and very complicated to do. So our attention could be turning to Jota on loan. But again, as Jacob Steinberg mentioned there, financially, it's a difficult one to do. And we'll break down kind of the reason behind it with the taxes and stuff shortly. But Jota as a player, Mike, on loan, is it a good signing for you off the bat? Or is it more of a it will do for now signing until the summer?
Yeah, so Jota's actually been someone that I talked about probably about 4 or 5 years ago when he was first coming through at Benfica, because he was a good, skillful young player, likes to be on the ball and so on. So it's a player that it's the type of player that I quite like anyway, in general. In terms of signing as a good sign for West Ham, it's one of those ones that I think, yes, he could be. However, I have some slight reservations in the sense of, the physicality of the Premier League is higher than the SPL, as well as the intensity. I'm not saying that I don't think he won't be able to play to that. I'm just saying it's going to be a level of needing to adapt in which to get there. Especially when you look at, up until Celtic, really his career has been very stop-start. And he really found his home at Celtic and was incredible at Celtic. There's no two ways about it. He was brilliant at Celtic. So
yeah, I mean, he started at Benfica, didn't he? He played a lot of his youth career there. Went to Real Valladolid for a bit, didn't really work out, and then it brought him to Celtic, where he was produced. You can see his stats on the screen here. Since he joined Celtic, you can see the kind of breakdown of numbers that he produced, and obviously moving to the Saudi league. The highlight there out of that is the 22-23 season before he did move. 29 games, 11 goals, 10 assists. It's pretty good return, despite obviously people who have reservations because of the league it's in. You look at players like Scott Sinclair, for example, as maybe a good example to compare him with because of that, similar age at the time, similar position, if you want to say that, and similar goal return and assist return. So it's.
Oh, but then you can always flip it and say, they're the likes of, Robertson, who's at Liverpool, Van Dijk, who's also at Liverpool. There's always these cases where it's always easy to look at ones like, Scott Sinclair, very average Premier League player, went to Scotland, was incredible there. It's always easy to look kind of. I think there's sometimes not just our fan base. This just happens across football. There's this level of snootiness that can be done from being in the lofty heights of the Premier League that these players can't hack it or they're not good.
It's same with the Championship, isn't it? Really, when you get linked to Championship players, but there are you can see a lot of them can make the move into the Premier League.
But I did see a tweet earlier, and it does make you kind of think, and it is kind of right in some ways, is that there's a lot of energy directed at players outside the Premier League as questioning whether they can do it and so on, or putting down that league and comparing it to, say, the English Championship. However, when there's a good, young, outstanding player in the English Championship, fans seem to fall over themselves and say, well, that's a player we need to go get. We must bring him. So you kind of, if you have that mentality about young players in the Championship, you then have to have the same about in the SPL, where someone is absolutely outperforming. And I think he got in total 28 goals and 26 assists across 83 appearances for Celtic. That's an incredible set of numbers to have that. Yeah, 83 appearances, 28 goals, 26 assists. He played over the left side or the right side. It didn't matter which side he played. He always got goals. He always got assists. And he was a proper big game player for them. He turned up in the Old Firm derby, scored a couple of absolute blinders. I think he scored on their route to winning the cup as well, was instrumental for Ange Postecoglou. I think, again, it's when he arrived at Celtic, he arrived at the right time with the right manager as well, which really did help him go from this kind of bit part player who always had potential to someone where people were also all of a sudden going, oh, there is actually a player there, and there is some consistency. And I think
I mean,
that's
when
what
he
you've
started
got.
at Celtic as well, he was only, what, 21 years old. He's
Yeah.
still only 24 years old now. I think he turns 25 in March. So it's not like he's past the peak of his career. He's still only 24 years old. So there is still a lot of potential in this deal. But in terms of the financial part of you, obviously, this is what's going to make it very difficult and complicated to do because of how the taxing works. So basically, he's gone to Saudi Arabia where it's tax free, doesn't have to pay it. But if he comes back to the UK within, I think, before the end of next April in
Mhm.
2025, he will have to pay quite a lot of that, and he'll take a big cut on his pay. So it's whether he wants to do that. Obviously, Al-Ittihad are going to want us to pay 100% of the wages he's on right now. There's rumors that it's up to nearly 200 grand a week. Some are saying 95 grand. So it's still quite a hefty fee to do for someone that, again, although could potentially be a very good signing.
And that's 95K tax free. So you're
Yeah,
talking about who's coming to Premier League. That wouldn't be 95 grand he'll be getting. He would have to be West Ham's top earner by
yeah.
quite some substantial margin for him to be earning that 95K, tax free kind of
And
piece. So
also, yeah, I mean, with Phillips coming in on such a high wages as
yeah,
well, on such a short 6 month deal, do you think we would be willing to go and push that out for Jota now as well with, what, 2, 3 days left of the transfer window?
part of me says if they do that and they give him the same wages, etc., there's an element of panic there. Um, you can pretty much guarantee there's not going to be a small agent fee. There's most likely two agents involved in this, one being his actual agent, Jorge Mendes,
Yeah.
and the other who has put the spanner in the works on other deals. I'm not even going to mention his name. What's the point? I think you all know who we're talking about. If you don't, I suggest you have a look on Twitter. You'll probably find out pretty quickly. But they're not so silky. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, it's a deal that's been placed in the mind of the club because he's available, and also because it's an agent who works with Sullivan a lot, and
Yeah.
an agent that very happy to get in Sullivan's pocket, and Sullivan's very happy in which to dispense cash from said pocket to help him finance bringing players for us.
Yeah.
Whether they are right or wrong for West Ham, or whether what they do as a twosome in which on deals is right or wrong is another question. But when they do things right, like Paqueta, you kind of go okay. But when they jeopardize deals that the entire club, bar say the chairman, agree on, you then start to go, then actually this is not a good relationship to have when they're meddling in other deals and saying this doesn't represent value. And the reason being is because they are sidling up with someone else. And
Yeah.
that leaves a bitter taste. Like, I can take not signing Osman.
Mm.
I know we're sidetracking here a bit, but I know I can take not signing Osman if the finances are not right for the club. However, what I do find that distasteful is that everyone within the club wants the deal, has signed off on the deal and the finances. And I think a lot of reports are coming out from a certain side of the conversation, because there
Yeah.
has been other points raised that are clearly seem a lot more attuned with what's actually going on with this deal than what's been put out by the English kind of press. And it, you just have to kind of feel a bit sickened by the fact that you have a group and a team that are employed in which to bring in players that are best suited for West Ham and are in the best interests of West Ham. However, an agent who has no skin in the game is able to come in, scupper the deal almost completely. Obviously, there are other elements about that deal as well, but pretty
Yeah.
much scupper it and then bring his own player in. And there's two players that they are bringing in. It's not just Jota, it's another player that
Yeah.
they've put into a
Yeah.
conversation. So it just makes it distasteful, and it kind of takes the shine off of what could be a good deal in Jota, to be honest.
It's tough. I think with the whole situation, we've been crying out for the bottom story is we've been crying out for a left winger, a left-sided attacker for God knows how long now. And it looks like I don't think we're going to bring someone like this in on these types of wages unless unless one of Fornals or Ben Rama goes. Obviously, we had our little babbling bet in the chat about what signings are going to happen this January transfer window. I'm still on track. But yeah, I think any signing possible now is dependent on outgoings. I really don't see us paying someone like Jota, who's going to be on quite a lot of money if he does
Yeah.
come, especially with the pay cut he's taking. They're going to demand a lot. His agent's going to demand a lot. It's going to be an expensive deal to do. It's going to be a very tricky deal to do. And with 48 hours, 72 hours left until that January transfer window shuts, it's tough. And I think maybe we might chance it. I think maybe Benrahma and Fornals might stay, or one of them will stay, and maybe Moyes will start to incorporate someone like Cornet more if he needs to. And I think we'll just say, look, Phillips is a good deal. It's good business for January. Our squad's pretty strong. We've got Paqueta coming back very shortly, maybe even for the Bournemouth game. We've brought, Kudus back from AFCON. Bowen's back fit. We might just chance it now until the end of the season and go big in the summer.
I think that's the problem, though, isn't it? It's that typical short-sighted thing. We did that last time in Europa League. We'll gamble on what we've got because what we're doing is doing good. And we couldn't get those targets, and maybe not. We won't bother with the other ones, and we'll go again in the summer. And it's sometimes you've got to take that gamble when you're in a position of strength. And we are in a position of strength. If we tail off towards the end of this campaign and don't then qualify for Europe, those players that we could buy in now potentially not going to be available in the summer, and we're then in a position of if we to just invest that little bit, which always seems to be the case, isn't it? It's always what could have been and what if we did that. There's many seasons you can go back and look where you go, if we'd have only invested in this window. And it seems the typical, let's say, West Ham shenanigans. I don't think it's really West Ham that want these shenanigans.
I think it happens across loads of clubs. We've seen how many times have we've nearly signed a youngster or an exciting player we thought was coming in, and they don't end up being the player that they are. Who is it? Carlos Borges last summer of Ajax, who's gone to Ajax.
Yeah.
He's just not been the player that, and we actually turned our attention to Kudus because of that. So things happen for a reason.
And it's always those sliding doors moments, right? Like say that one, we'd have got Borges, we wouldn't have gone and got Kudus most likely. So it's always going to be a sliding doors moment where one kind of opportunity closes, another one opens, and this could happen with these two. We may then have a completely unexpected deal that comes up. Look at Nusa at the moment with Brentford. That deal looks like it's about to collapse now. Which could then open the doors for Benrahma to leave. So it's weird how these things kind of, how one deal may collapse, one may kind of
be. It can happen very quickly, can't it? I mean, look at the Jared Bowen deal.
And the way I look at with Jota as well, it's potentially a gateway deal to much bigger things. If we can get this deal to move as smoothly as we can, because it's going to be difficult because of the financial aspects, and that's actually not really on the club, to be honest. It's just the problem with being in a player from a league where it's tax-free, etc. You're always going to those things. And again, if the player's motivated by money, he's going to want a pay packet. If he's just purely motivated by the fact that I want to play football and then I could potentially earn a good contract, then he may come in on lesser, more amenable terms. And
I think that's also quite important. He went from Celtic to Saudi. It was a completely different pay structure. He got a massive, massive pay increase. And I think a lot of Celtic fans I've seen speaking about it, they don't really blame him. He was earning a significantly amount more of wages. Now
35k, I think. So he's tripled, if not quadrupled, his wages.
It's a lot of money. If you're someone working, it's a huge amount of money. And now it comes down to whether he wants to play football, because he could stay in Saudi for a couple more years, get his money, then come back to maybe go back to Celtic or go play some football where else. He'll still be 27, 28, and he might get back into the Prem. This is an excellent chance for him to move to the Premier League for a European team in a season where things are starting to move quite exciting for us. So I think it would be a great signing. I think it would be a very, very good signing. It excites me more than the Osman deal, because I think he's more of a player that's maybe ready to come in and hit the ground running a bit more than Osman, and can maybe make that impact on a smaller scale. But yeah, what's your final thoughts on Jota? Would you be happy with the deal?
Yeah, I do. I think I probably have a bit of more of a longer term view in it as well, in the sense of if you make this deal work and you can make this kind of a very simple deal to make work, you've then got a very potentially amenable super agent. Let's face it, is not just an agent. He's a super agent in Jorge Mendes, who all of a sudden you've kept happy in a deal. Let's not forget that there was potential coercion from him with Nunez when we was after Nunez a couple of seasons back. And he dissuaded him and pushed him towards Wolves. To have someone like that who can essentially be the gatekeeper, who is the gatekeeper and can open up the gates to some of the most incredible young talent out of Portugal. Whilst these would be unlikely, but the types that he has in there is like Antonio Silva, who again is a young Benfica centre back who's been incredible. that's a player that if you can sidle up with Jorge Mendes, and bear in mind we can look at centre backs next year, and you can say we'll bring him in and we'll put in a release clause, and he can go on to another bigger club, and you can get a bigger pay packet out of it at a later point. Opening up that gateway and being maybe that stepping stone club, and I know people don't like that, but until you make it as a big club, you're going to be a stepping stone. You sometimes have to look at it as if I can bring this player in, he may elevate our level for 2 to 3 years, and then when he goes on to be sold for massive bucks, you use that money to then find the next kind of floor raiser and so on. So I do look at this deal in terms of it can be great in the short to medium term, because I think Jota can bring goals, can bring assists. I think he'll be far more effective than Benrahma. And he's got a point to prove, which I think is another big thing. Another one, he has an exceptional mullet. I think that would be brilliant to see that mullet in claret and blue. And as I say, I just think if you can get a deal that brings alongside someone like Jorge Mendes, bit into the fold and being a favoured agent, and I hate the favoured agent thing, but sometimes, bet the devil you know. But if you can bring in someone who has such a catalogue of players that he does to work with you, then sometimes it's a lesser evil, and it's an evil worth dealing with because of what ultimately could benefit your club in the longer run. And it did look for Wolves for ages, for a long time. It massively bettered them. So we've kind of got to look as in, can this deal not only improve us in short, medium term, but can it have a much longer lasting impact on us?
Yeah, no, completely agree. And yeah, I mean, there's not long left, so this could move very quickly. By the time we're recording it, it might have changed already. Don't know, but yeah, we'll keep you up to date.
Have a player unveiled on match day. You never know. It is match day is the final day of the window, so there's every chance.
That would be very nice, wouldn't it? Would be very nice. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Let us know in the comments what you think of the Jota deal. Is it something you want us to try and pursue? Is it a move that's going to be a little bit too difficult for us with very short time left in the window? Let us know what you think. Yeah, leave a comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new, and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. And Mike, until next time.
Come on, you
irons.